just waiting for Sean to join us. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Yo.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes. Oh, man. Ugh. Gotta drink probiotic juice.
Ugh, gross.
Or kombucha or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. It's one of those, it was non-evasive, but as bad as non-evasive can get.
Oh, yeah?
Because I went in like 4 years ago, vomiting and throwing up and uncontrollably, and they said, oh, heartburn, sent me home. Never had heartburn problems before. A year goes by, happens again. Same thing, heartburn or acid reflux. Then all of 2020, I'm fine. And then last week, happened 3 times. The first time I made it stop on my own. The second time was even easier. Then last time I could not get it to stop. So I just went to the emergency room again. So finally I'm just like, I just lied because I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Because I knew I wasn't, but I knew they weren't going to take it seriously. And then sure enough, it's my gallbladder. And then they're like, well, if you'd come earlier, it wouldn't have been as bad. I'm like, motherfucker.
Oh, Jesus, fuck you.
I'm not kidding. I had a nurse go, so you're diabetic? I'm like, no. Oh, you're not? I'm like, and a lot of this had to do because I went with heart attack when I got in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just, I had one doctor say, well, usually this happens to fat females over 40, the 3 Fs. You only click 2 of those boxes. And just like nonstop little shit like that. And I don't know. It was, apparently my gallbladder was huge. It was hard. It was pussy. And they had to cut it into 4 pieces. And then even still, they had to cut my belly button open a little bit to pull it out.
Yikes.
So yeah, I'm fine, but I'm in a little bit of pain.
Apparently it happened to Josh too.
Yeah, he had it as well because he was telling me about it. But I did get to watch Tombstone, and U.S. Marshals was on. I kept waking up to that being on. And I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That was all that was on the TV there. But I did get home to watch some movies, so it'll be part of the podcast. Thank God. This is for our YouTube viewers. Sorry for I I was out for
Welcome
a while.
to Gallbladder Talk.
Yeah, there was a shot I wasn't going to be on the episode this week, and Sean had it all planned, and then I ripped it out from underneath him. Sorry. Oh, God. Where's my... Is he ready to go then?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zara. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. And we do have, I guess, like, we want to, what is the, you're in radio, you know the word.
A contest?
A contest. I was going to say giveaway. I guess a giveaway works too.
Yeah, giveaway. Sure.
We have something going on right now where if you give us a 5-star review on any of the platforms, you'll have to possibly let us know because we don't know all the platforms. You have a shot to win one of, is it 2 movies? Or
yeah, there are 2 movies now. The Great War of Archimedes and the other one is Deliver Us from Evil. They're both Asian-inspired films. I believe they're both from Japan, or I think so. Anyway, the one of them is about the sinking of the biggest battleship of all time, the largest battleship in history, which is pretty cool. And the other one's a straight up just Asian martial arts action film.
Yeah, and right now the sweepstakes for we just keep making up different ones. They're pinned to the top of both of our social media pages. I'll try to go in there and put the Apple link because that's the only one I really know to where you can go and review us. That's not there currently because I don't know where you listen to us at. You might listen to us on Google or Spotify or whatever. So any of those platforms are fine. You just got to let us know you're giving us the review.
Yep.
Which you can do by emailing us at critics@ihatecritics.net. The best way to get a hold of us as well, because that email has no emails. It's awesome. Other than that, a couple movie things every now and then. And then we're streaming live on YouTube. Currently, it's Memorial Day, Monday morning. Normally, we record Monday evenings about 8 p.m., 7:30, 8 o'clock. Is that about right? 8:30 at the latest.
Yeah.
Probably in the summer that might go back to Sundays, but if you want to watch us live on YouTube, you can do that there. I also post the streaming links on our social media as well. And then most importantly, patreon.com/criticspod, the best way to help support the podcast. We're kicking around ideas of almost doing a separate podcast as a bonus episodes, if that makes sense. Something we both kind of wanted to do, and it might give us a reason to do it, and it's a little bit easier. So look forward to those in the near future. And then ihatecritics.net, up in the right-hand corner, there is a TeePublic link where you can get some of our podcast merch, like the shirt I'm wearing right now and the notebook I'm using, the Batman versus Jesus. We also have Willem Dafoe's confusingly large penis shirt and Cameron Diaz's shoulder, which again means nothing to new listeners. If you're with us at the beginning.
Josh was a t-shirt machine.
Yeah. We tried Kevin Bacon's dick and maybe it'll come back. It fell off a little bit after a couple episodes. But
Kevin Bacon's dick fell off?
It's back. Can't make me laugh too hard, man. All right, let's go ahead and get the pictures up here and we'll start the show. And we'll start with A Quiet Place Part 2.
A Quiet Place Part 2. This one is written and directed by John Krasinski and stars Emily Blunt, Noah Jupe, and oh gosh, I forgot her name. The young girl who's really terrific. I apologize. Just trying to pull it off the top of my head. This is, of course, the sequel to the 2017 film, which was a solid movie, really well made. I think I remember liking the first Quiet Place movie.
We liked it, but I think we all had just weird questions. Like it was just kind of, I mean, our podcast title was Quiet Sex because we ended up, because it happens in the movie, and then we sit and, you know, we and I don't think we were being immature. It was legit points. Later on helped us in our YouTube views. But I think there's a lot of little things that we were just kind of like, well, I mean, it's hard to look past this and that. But anyway, Go ahead.
So the to get into this, the end of the last movie, they came up with a way to at least immobilize these evil aliens that have come to Earth. And now in this one, it resets to the first day when this took place. So we see Krasinski again and on his way to his kid's baseball game when the aliens attack. And then we bust ahead to day 474 after his death. Kind of pointless, really, when you get down to it. I mean, it's kind of, there's really no reason to go back to day one. What we do.
If I'm going to write it and direct it, I'm going to be in it.
That's kind of how it plays, honestly. So now we're in the future again, and they're going to leave their farm to go find some other survivors, and collect more stuff. They've got the baby, of course. They've got this box that they've rigged up with some oxygen to keep the baby inside, so the baby can cry if it needs to, and they won't get hit by the aliens. They go looking for new people. They go and find this abandoned, this abandoned machinery place. And inside is Cillian Murphy, and he's set up a whole bunch of traps outside and nearly gets them killed very quickly before he takes them in. It turns out he's a former friend of the family who was lost his family now, and he kind of wants them gone. He kind of wants to just die alone in peace if he can. And they kind of bring him back and get him to be a person again. Along the way, of course, the family gets split up, and we do find that there may be other survivors out there. Whether that's a good or bad thing, you'll have to see the movie. This movie, the odds are. I always talk about this movie when you stack the odds too high against the potential of the people to survive, it kind of lose me. And this movie kind of lost me the way they stacked the odds. Noah Jupe, his character steps in a bear trap and nearly snaps his leg in half, and that to me was just not a necessary obstacle to place in front of them, and it created so many other obstacles on top of it that it just, again, everything kind of stretches the credibility of whether or not you believe these people can survive this. The first movie did that too, but I thought the odds that they stacked in that film were a little bit stronger than they are here. At a certain point, this movie is incredibly tense. I mean, it never stops being tense. It never stops having the feeling that something could happen at any moment. But at the same time, after a while, that instead of being exciting, it becomes exhausting. And I was exhausted by this movie. I was just like, give me a second to breathe. Give me something here where I can just take a breath and relax a little bit. And they just don't. He just doesn't. It's something about this is just it's just too much. You've gone too far in the direction of nonstop suspense. And I just can this just be done now? I just wanted to go home and take a nap.
How are the audiences reacting to it? Are they liking this, or is it just kind of lukewarm? I mean, there's a lot of things going in its favor. It's kind of one of the big new movies, one of the first new movies back in theaters that people are going to. It's got fan favorites, I guess, but so they are liking it. I guess it seems more of a blockbuster popcorn movie. Not that I like being exhausted in movies, but if I'm gonna be, give me The Revenant, something like that, a little more artful. Right. That's gonna, that's at least you can see one time and be done, but you had an experience. This, I mean, it looks fine, but like you said, if you stack the odds too high, and it runs the risk of knocking the audience out of the movie, that's not a good thing.
And that's where I ended up. I just wanted it over with so I could just relax. And some people will say, well, no, that just means it's really effective. I'm sure maybe that does. If you're 19 and you're coked out on caffeine, then maybe that's what you need. For me,
live for the backhanded compliments. I love them.
just for me, I got tired, and the odds stacking got to be a little bit too much. And Jaimin Hansu's in this movie. They don't use Jaimin Hansu well, and I'm like, you needed to use your Jaimin Hansu a little bit better.
Right. And in the first one, it was contained to one area. Maybe this is somewhat contained too. It looks like they do walk around a little bit. But I mean, we've had a lot of dystopian future movies in the last 20 years, like too many. And sometimes it just gets repetitive and you just, I don't know. You just get oversaturated with this stuff and it's not as effective.
Right.
Or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I would definitely say that. You know, it's interesting. Cillian Murphy is in this movie, and of course, he was in 28 Days Later, which is a movie that has a similar kind of constant sort of tension. But that film, I feel like, is far more artfully made than this one, and kind of justifies the level of tension that it creates and maintains throughout. But then I was 19 years younger when I saw that movie.
And it was the market wasn't as saturated either.
The dystopian movies, I've seen so many of them now that you've got to be really, really good. Like it's got to be really, really super good to really get me. And this one isn't super good. It's okay. It's well made, and it's certainly effective. But by the end, I just wanted it to be over with, and I just don't think that's the intention. That I don't think that's the feeling they mean to leave you with.
Does it suffer from the same things the first one did? Which again, and suffer's not the right word because it's just little nitpicky stuff. But when you're making this premise where if you make a peep, this giant thing's going to come out in half a second and just destroy you. That's a hard thing to maintain and not have things wrong with it. Does this one have any of those, or because they put that the earpiece thing in it that's kind of saves it from the nitpicky stuff?
It's got one I could point to, like when Noah Jupe's leg gets nearly busted in half by the bear trap, and he does scream, he can't hold it back. Only one of the aliens comes, and you got to figure there's so many of those things. If they heard a scream, like more than just one would come in this scenario. So again, yeah.
And they come so fast in the first one, at least early on, and you don't have a chance.
Right.
So the reason they're able to, control it was because it was stuck in a room with them. I don't know. It's okay. Anything else on Quiet Place Part 2?
I don't hate this movie. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. It's just not for me. It's too much. It's too much movie.
And maybe there's part of me that's just upset I couldn't see it, so that's why I'm making sure it's not good. But maybe I'm sure it's fine. Did you talk to Josh at all?
I didn't. He didn't tell me how he felt about it. No.
All right, no big deal. Well, here's a chance for you to really let go. Moby Doc.
Moby Doc is a documentary about Moby, and directed by Rob Gordon Bralver. He's a friend of Moby's. It starts out, the idea is that Moby's just going to make a documentary about himself, and it's going to be him trying to figure out some things about himself. So he talks to the camera directly and talks about why he's decided to do this and how he's kind of exploring, who he is. But at the same time, like, if you're thinking that maybe this is going to be revealing and it's going to tell you something about Moby, he starts the whole thing by doing this thing with his hands, to tell the movie where to start, essentially. And it's filled with those little touches throughout to just kind of exposes the artifice of what he's doing, and it creates this barrier of sort of ironic distance between him and the camera. So anytime it feels like he's confessing, it also feels unreal. And that's kind of part of who he is, I guess, is this creating this notion of who he is, and that's kind of part of his art. And if you're not a fan of his, this does not play well. It plays like it just plays like a pretentious artist being pretentious, and never really stops feeling that way throughout. From there, we go to this scene where he's playing with these little wooden dolls and drawing faces and hair on them, and they're representing him and his parents and his upbringing in Connecticut, where grew up poor in a very rich neighborhood. His father committed suicide. His mother was withdrawn, I guess, to say the least. She had a lot of boyfriends who were not very nice, and he kind of grew up basically just with pets, with dogs and cats and rats, and just making them his friends. And that's kind of a very simplistic explanation of how he grows up to be an animal rights activist and a vegan who doesn't, because he doesn't want to eat animals. And that's fine. But again, it's all presented in this very artificial manner. At one point, he's acting out his childhood traumas by directing actors to act out scenes from his childhood. And again, it's just all very pretentious and high-minded and not particularly revealing when he's continuously putting this wall of artificiality between us and him. So this thing that's intended to be so revealing about who he is never feels real. It doesn't help, I guess, that I don't particularly care for his music. I've never really listened to Moby's music. I don't know much about him musically. I learned about him basically through, what I know of Moby. I know of him from cultural osmosis, just kind of things seeping through the culture that you end up knowing about, like the Kardashians. I kind of, anything I know about the Kardashians is not because I watched their show. It's because they just happen to seep through into social media and come out of the mouths of other people. And that's kind of how I know about Moby, is from hearing about him from other people. So I kind of wanted to learn something about Moby and kind of, get to know what kind of person he is, because the main thing that I know about Moby is that he lied about dating Natalie Portman and she called him a creep. That's the main thing I know about him. And coming out of this documentary, that's how I feel I know still what I know about him. I know he had some really bad drug problems, that the Natalie Portman thing probably happened because he was really, really out of it on drugs. But he doesn't address that directly, but that happened at the same time that he was deeply into drugs, and he's been deeply into drugs a few times in his life. But again, there's no real revealing thing here. It's all just artifice.
Sounds terrible. I'm the same way. I know that he exists, but that's and I knew the Natalie Portman thing, that's really creepy. So I don't like that. But I don't know the context of it. So, otherwise I'm neither here nor there on Moby. I'm not into electronic music. He's bald and vegan. That's the only thing we have in common. He's small, I'm big. I don't know. I don't really have any questions. I was shocked you were wanting to even watch this, but I guess I can see why, because he is you don't really know anything about him. Because he puts that, he definitely does nothing. He's not a very honest, revealing person. He always has, like you were saying, that block between him and the audience.
Yeah.
The pretension. That's the funny thing about pretentiousness. It's like you either love it or you hate it, but you can both. Like I like David Lynch. I hate Terrence Malick. It's just for the same exact reason. I like Rush, and yes, I'm not a big fan of Moby. So I don't know. I can't be upset about that part of it, but I probably will never see this. So
you want to know why I really, really dislike this movie? It's because it reminded me of that Donald Sutherland movie we watched about a month and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? How? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even.
All those stupid flights of fancy, and just the things the talking that goes nowhere, and this highly pretentious scenes. It reminded me of that. And I really hate that movie still to this moment.
At least that was a movie. This is a documentary.
Was that a movie though?
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not. You had an inexperienced filmmaker who happened to knock it out of the park on the first one. The second one, they got a little over their heads.
Yeah.
That's weird. All right, another weird one. I was like, well, this is the one I could probably watch this week. Endangered Species. Then I saw the cast. I'm like, what? If this is good, I will watch it.
Endangered Species stars Philip Winchester from the TV series Chicago Justice and Rebecca Romaine as a married couple who travel to Kenya to take a safari, essentially. And they've got their 2 kids with them, and the daughter has brought her hippie boyfriend. And immediately, right off the bat, just as they're establishing these characters, you immediately start to root for the rhinos in the movie. Because they're all just whiny and bored. Rebecca Romaine just would rather be anywhere than in this movie. So the premise then kicks in when Dad admits that he's lost his job as a consultant for an oil company, which really, if you want to make a character very sympathetic, have him be a consultant for an oil company that just had a massive spill and he's been fired, because of course that really makes him very sympathetic. Mm-hmm. Then of course he's got issues with his son, who is gay, and his issues with his daughter who's dropping out of college to be with this hippie guy. So the family is just a complete shambles. They're hoping that this vacation will bring them together, and they're going out into the wild to look at rhinos. And since Dad lost his job, they don't have enough money for a guided tour, so they have to take out their own tour. And when they do, they just kind of sneak out without paying and without signing out their vehicle, so they end up in the wildlife out in the wildlife of Kenya with no one knowing where they are or how to find them. They come across a rhino. They happen to get in between the rhino and the rhino's mom, and the mom charges and destroys their vehicle in a very funny scene. Because again, I was rooting for the rhinos. The CGI rhinos, they're terrible. They're just rubbery looking, like they look like they belong more in an animated movie than they do in this movie. But they nevertheless, they charge and they destroy their vehicle, and they end up in the wildlife in the African wilds with no one knowing where they are and trying to survive. They do come across Jerry O'Connell, who plays a hunter, a rhino hunter who illegally harvests rhino horns, and he's supposed to be the big bad. And if you think you can buy for a second Jerry O'Connell as a badass, no, I've seen Jerry O'Connell way too many times. He's too much of a goof, and he doesn't change anything about himself to try and make you buy him as anything other than a goof. So it's just a goofy Jerry McConnell character that happens to want to murder this family to cover up his crime. And I just never bought it for a second. The best part of the movie is when the hippie boyfriend gets mauled by hyenas. That's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actively rooting against Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romaine or anything like that. You know, if Tarantino wants to come in and try to do something crazy with them, I'm on board. But clearly, you know, if you're going to Africa, you don't have money. This is your cast. You got a married couple who's doing it as well. So, I mean, there's too many red flags going into this movie to give it a chance. My wife was like, I'll watch it if you really want to, but I don't if I don't have to. You know?
Philip Winchester is so bad at this. I felt bad at it. Look at his face right there in this picture, Bob. That's how he looks throughout the entire movie, just whining. He looks like he's whining the entire movie. He's afraid of the flight over. He's afraid of every bump in the night. And I don't know why they gave him this character choice. I guess his arc is supposed to be that he's supposed to get tougher throughout, like he's supposed to, you know, grow and get stronger by the end of the movie. But the ending is so funny. It is so funny. And it's not supposed to be by any stretch.
I mean, but you can't do this without like real money. I mean, I don't care who you are. Yeah. You can't do a movie with animals like this without money behind you. And that it's back to before the pandemic. You don't have to see this movie.
The best bet on this is just, instead of paying $7 to watch it, send $7 to the World Wildlife Fund to protect rhinos. That's really what you should do. That's really a much better use of your time and money.
Yeah, even though they ripped off the WWF's name. You ever heard that story? I've only heard it from the WWF side. So
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
did you watch Ultimate Warrior docs?
I saw some highlights. That's about it. I can't take seriously a documentary about Ultimate Warrior that doesn't talk about steroids. So well done, Vice.
There's two.
There's
WWE did
two.
one. A&E had one as well the same week. They both came out. WWE's actually addressed it.
Oh,
But I mean, I guess
Vice did not.
It was too public knowledge. There's a lot to address with the Ultimate Warrior. Anyway, we're not talking about the Ultimate Warrior here. We're talking about American Trader, The Trial of Axis Sally. Is this worse than Endangered Species? This looks horrible.
Kind of. Like they're on the same level, I would say. American Trader, The Trial of Axis Sally stars Meadow Williams, who I've never heard of before, in the role of Axis Sally, who is a woman who defected to Germany very early on, but well before the start of World War II, like in the late 1920s, early 1930s. She was looking for acting jobs. She wasn't getting them in the US, so she went to Germany and she met a man and fell in love, and he asked her to stay in Germany once the Nazis started to take over, and as they were moving towards World War II. And in that time, she took on a job as a radio host where she was doing these broadcasts to American soldiers, and even all the way, I mean, it even went to America. Everybody around the world could hear these broadcasts of her talking to the soldiers and telling them, your families really miss you, and your girlfriends might be cheating on you, and all this stuff is happening, and you can't beat the unbeatable German army. So I don't know why you're here. You should just go home and not, end up mangled by the unbeatable German army. And that was her job. She did that all the time. Every day she would broadcast that kind of thing. And after the war, of course, she gets captured by the U.S. and taken back to the United States to stand trial for treason. Her argument is that she was repeatedly threatened and even raped by Joseph Goebbels, who played by Thomas Kretschmann. And Al Pacino plays her lawyer, who's tasked with defending her in the most confusing way imaginable. Because the first scene with Pacino, there's two guys sitting in his office going, "We need a conviction of Axis Sally. We really need to put her away and make an example of her." And he goes, "Of course, I'll make that happen. It's a ground ball. It's an easy out. No problem." Then he goes to her cell. He says, "Hi, I'm your lawyer." And you're like, "What? Wait, do I have to, what did I thought he was is he the prosecutor, or he's the defense? Oh, he's just corrupt. Okay." But of course, he gets kind of won over to her side, I guess, because the movie is kind of taking her side in the strangest way possible. It wants to have it both ways. It wants to be kind to her because, again, it claims that she was forced to do these things, which maybe she was, and also that she didn't actually kill anybody. Is a fair point. She didn't actually kill anyone. She didn't give away American secrets to Germany or anything because she didn't have any. So really, what was her crime other than speaking against the war? But again, we're also talking about somebody who was on the Nazi side. So it's kind of the there's no real rooting interest here. Like, you understand that maybe, yeah, that they're right, that she's only really guilty of just bad decision making early on and ending up in this situation. So yeah, should she go to prison for that? Probably not. I mean, Hedda Hopper, the famed gossip columnist, was saying the exact same things as Axis Sally was in her columns on a daily basis. And those were being printed in the LA Times of her saying, we shouldn't be in this war. And this president's taking us to this war that we shouldn't be in. And she wasn't going as far as saying that the Nazis are better than us and that, but she was an isolationist. There were plenty of isolationists in the world at the time saying we shouldn't be in World War II. And many of them were in government. And weren't called, traitors and tried for treason. So I understand what they're going for here, but you're not talking about anybody who can be easily defended given the things that she did. And she did end up in jail for about 12 years for what she said. She participated in this one particular broadcast that was really super offensive that happened to air the day before D-Day, where she talked about guys' limbs being blown off, and she was playing the perspective of a mother of a soldier who dies in this war and how unnecessary it was for him to die. And So they convict her of that, but even then, I don't know what the fuck this movie was trying to say. On top of it, just aesthetically, it's not very pleasing. Pacino is doing, the typical Pacino stuff. Like if his character isn't the center of the scene, he's not going to be in it. It's like you can just tell. Oh, they're not talking about me in this scene. Bye.
I'm gonna get a coffee. I'll be back. Only when you need me. I mean, that's the question I have for you. This sounds way more competent than I was expecting.
It's Michael Polish. The Polish brothers are pretty great directors, but this is only one of them in this version. So,
I mean, I was expecting something as equally as terrible as Endangered Species for the same reasons, like no money, but it sounds like they had enough to make this movie work.
I mean, a lot of the stuff I just talked about was just mostly from me. Okay. A lot of the stuff that, like, they don't have any really interesting conversations about isolationists or anything like that. They don't really have that conversation at all. I'm having that. Right. I happen to be listening to You Must Remember This right now, which is all about Hedda Hopper, and so that got me thinking about it. And that's a much more interesting conversation about isolationists during World War II and what people were saying about, not going to World War II, which they were wrong to say that. And we were definitely right to go over there and do what we did. At the same time, it's not a crime to speak out against any war. So, but this movie's not having that conversation. It's so clumsy and so poorly, like, put together. Her character is so awful. She's such a terrible person that even after she's been sexually assaulted by Goebbels and essentially told that she'll be killed if she doesn't go ahead with these broadcasts, the performance is so wooden and unsympathetic that you can't invest in her.
Like literally seeing her assaulted and all this, and you still don't believe her.
I mean, there's no evidence whatsoever that she was raped by Goebbels. There's no evidence whatsoever that she was even had a gun to her head to make her do this. There's absolutely no evidence. The movie infers that.
The movie doesn't show it.
It shows you, yes, it shows you that happening. It doesn't, like, it's not a graphic rape scene, but the implications are strong. But there's no, if you look at the historical record.
That's what I was going to ask. I'm not asking historically. In the movie, is there evidence? Yeah. But historically, there's not, and that always can affect the movie too.
Well, yeah, because I mean, do I believe her or do I not believe her? I don't know. I don't know if I believe her or not.
But I was glad you could at least bring that much to this movie. That's pretty it's impressive. I mean, I keep going back to when The Irishman came out and Pacino out and out said, which, I mean, he said it and it's kind of a cop out, but now that he said it doesn't protect him, but he goes, sometimes I just take bad movies just to see if I can make them better, which is hilarious because he's done a lot of bad movies in the last 25, 30 years. And then you got De Niro suing his ex-wife about having to take bad movies because he can't afford to live the lifestyle he has that she wants to maintain. So I don't know. I just love that. That doesn't excuse any of it, but made me laugh. Anyway, let's move on to Cruella.
Cruella. This is a Disney villain origin story about the villain of 101 Dalmatians, Cruella de Vil, who grew up under the name Estella, but her mom would call her Cruella when she was acting out, and it discouraged her from being like that. And for a time, she was kind of going along with that and kind of trying to do her best to be a nice person until her mother is killed. And rather graphically so when we actually see it in the movie in that classic Disney fashion, because Lord knows you can't have parents in a happy life in a movie, in a Disney movie.
No.
So the mom dies and she ends up going to London by herself, where she meets the Batten brothers, and she enters into their gang, and they become like this little criminal group. They grow up just stealing watches and wallets and stuff, and little petty crimes, until she gets old enough that she decides she wants to pursue her dream of being a fashion designer. She ends up lucking her way into a job with the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson, who's horrible human being who just steals her employees' designs and calls them her own, and she's just awful to people. And from there, that's what kind of brings about her Cruella side, where once she finds a particular motivation to drive her towards being Cruella, she decides that Cruella is her way to get back at the Baroness. So she becomes Cruella and starts designing her own stuff and putting on these big publicity stunts to show up the Baroness. And it's all building towards a final conflict between the two of them to see who's going to be the meaner person. And I like this movie a little bit because I like Emma Stone a lot, and I think the aesthetic of it is awesome. The fashion designing stuff is fantastic, and the once she's like fully Cruella, Emma Stone is really enjoying herself, and you can sense how much she's enjoying playing this character and doing these things. And you can also tell that this had a story credit for Aileen Brosh McKenna, who was the writer and director of The Devil Wears Prada. You can sense a lot of her wit in what Cruella does, and I appreciated that. And that's kind of the movie I wanted to watch was the version where Cruella becomes Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada. That's a much more interesting story to me. But this is a Disney villain origin story, so she has to have this like forced narrative where her friends are kind of hurt by her becoming Cruella and leaving them behind, and she's got to go back for them and show that she cares about them in some way. And fine, I guess that's the final act. But I like a lot of this. I think there's a lot of really good stuff here. I think Craig Gillespie is a very good director who can make this work, and in many ways he does. In terms of the comedy of the movie is strong. The aesthetic especially is really strong. The soundtrack is incredible, and the score is awesome. So there's a lot of really great things about this. I just don't think there's any heart to it. There's nothing beating underneath the chest of this film. It's sort of it's empty in that way, and when it tries to get those emotional beats at the end, it does not work.
I love the aesthetic so much that I'll say I like it because I don't care. I look at Disney as this big machine and doesn't have a heart anyway. And sometimes they can pretend to have a heart in their movies, but the company itself doesn't. And so Craig Gillespie swipes in here, the other people you named as well. Then you got Emma Thompson and Emma Stone. They make it entertaining enough that I don't care about what doesn't work about it. There's definitely a lot of, if you want to sit and focus on the story, it's definitely, they cop out. They don't turn the dogs into outfits. They could have, and it would have been a better movie if they did. It would have been fucked up and gross and horrible, but they would have been more real. I mean, the cartoon did, so it would have been perfect for this movie to do, and they don't go that dark. Yeah. But the aesthetic and the sound, the punk rock vibe of this whole movie is so perfect that it's just fun to watch, and I don't care about. It's a little long, but even then, I liked the vibe so much I didn't care that it was long. I didn't care that I didn't hate her enough. I was just like, I wanted to see what they're gonna do next. And then, they end it with a Black Sabbath song turning into a Rolling Stones song. So I'm I'm on board. You had the Doors, the Clash, ELO, 2 different Ike and Tina Turner songs, Blondie, Queen, like I said, Black Sabbath, Rolling Stones, Supertramp. It was such a great soundtrack and score. The whole thing was it was fun to watch. I was really shocked at how much fun I had watching it and just how cool it was. The story is whatever, but the cool is what really works for this movie for me. The aesthetic, the punk rock vibe.
Yeah, the costumes are incredible. I loved the pranks that she pulls on the Baroness to steal her thunder are really great. And when she gets to that punk rock fashion show that she puts on, that is a really cool scene. It's really cool.
Anytime they go to all the pranks are awesome. From the garbage trunk. The punk rock scene was the best, but I don't know. I was
fight scene. There's a great fight scene where she walks in and she's got this one dress on, and then she lights it on fire and it turns into another dress. Like, that's cool. That's this character. That's what she does. Like, that's that's the when she's at her best is that moment, and then she beats up the security guards.
Yeah, but I mean, what you have a director who knows what movie he's making. You have two actresses who know what movie they're in. You know, even the the buffoons or whatever, they knew what movie they were in. And so everything that's weak about it, which is just simply the fact that you had to force us into a Cruella de Vil story. That's the only thing that's weak about it, is you're forcing it there.
Yeah.
Everything else is so strong that it works for me, and I would definitely watch it again, or at least if it was on, I'd keep watching it, I suppose. I paid the $30 on Disney Plus, but if I took my family, it's 40, so it actually worked out. So I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. Maybe it was because I wasn't expecting to like it. I had no idea I was going to walk into that kind of a punk rock movie.
They really do nail that. And I love the scenes with her and the London shop owner she befriends. That guy's fun. He steals every scene that he's in, and they have a wonderful dynamic that I wanted to see more of. There could have been a little bit more with him, I thought, in this movie that would have been cool.
What I want is this to be done, though. I don't want this turning into another 101 Dalmatian movie, because I don't know how. I mean, you could fuck it up. I mean, I guess I don't care. I won't have to see it. But unless they're all on board again and they do it, like, I just don't know how now she's not punk rock anymore. Now she, everything's different. She's inherited the fortune. Spoiler alert. But anyway, I don't really give a shit. Make a sequel. I'm just not going to watch it. What I'm getting at. All right. Anything else on Cruella?
Nah.
Okay. Our undisputed classic is Lars and the Real Girl.
Yes, directed by Craig Gillespie, which is why we chose this. It's about a Wisconsin guy who lives in his parents' garage. His brother Gus and his wife, played by Emily Mortimer, own the house now. His parents are dead. And Lars is a lonely guy who's kind of very withdrawn from society and from people. He grew up based solely, specifically on the way he grew up. He ends up getting this doll, ordering this sex doll in the mail. And it sounds like that's going to be some kind of gross thing, but he actually wants to have this because he wants to have a relationship that he knows that he can control and won't end in horror and death. Everybody in the town, this small town, decides to kind of go along with it. Patricia Clarkson plays this doctor, and she kind of leads everybody in the direction of just accept him with this sex doll, and let's just all pretend this is as real for us as it is for him, and maybe this will be the way to bring him out of this. There's a lot of really wonderful things in that. There's a lot of really strong jokes in this too, that come from these characters. They're not like jokes, but they're like just kind of moments where people are forcing themselves to go along with this, realizing they're forcing themselves to go along with this, and just kind of laughing at the absurdity of going along with this. I really love this movie, but at the same time, there's something that's just been nagging at me about this, and that is it too pat? Is this too easy? An explanation of his trauma, an explanation of his psyche. I'm plagued by this thought, because everything about him can be explained about what happened. When he was born, his mother died during childbirth. This led to his father growing very depressed and eventually dying himself. And that explains why Lars looks desperately for something that is permanent. So it's why he's drawn to this sex doll, because as he says in this kind of throwaway line as they're leaving church one day, one of the friends from church gives him a flower to give to the doll, and he explains to the doll that, see, it's plastic, so it'll never die, and it never goes away. And that's a very revealing line, and I love that line. I like it's a great explanatory line, but at the same time, is it too obvious? Is that too on the nose in that moment? Because it reveals so much about how he thinks about this doll as this thing that is permanent and won't die. is that too simple? And I keep just coming back to that. Every aspect of his life is so very well explained, and I don't think trauma or even delusion or these types of anxieties are so simple. The triggers are so obvious. One of the main triggers is that Emily Mortimer's character Karen is pregnant and going to have a baby, and he's very worried that she's going to die in pregnancy, and that's kind of what touches him off to pick up this doll as something that's permanent and can't die. It also explains why he's so uncomfortable around her, because he's so afraid that she's going to die in childbirth that he doesn't want to get too close to her and have that feeling again of the pain of loss. I like a lot of that, but again, is it too easy?
I feel what you're saying. It's like even just the fact that it's like a gentle and pleasant mental illness story, and I mean, and I say that, but it makes me uncomfortable saying, I don't like laughing at it. You're never laughing at it, so that's not what I mean. But like you're saying, you're explaining mental illness way too easily, and then I'm sitting there going, am I just being too 2021 and not able to just watch the movie for what it is? Is it me? Is it the time we're in, or is it the movie? And I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is, because it's good. Ryan Gosling's good. Emily Moore, they're all good. Craig, and maybe it comes back to Craig Gillespie's really good at making something watchable. And even like I, Tonya, it's like, wow, it's like really pretty awesome. But then it's just like, but it's a Tonya Harding story. So it was kind of like, I mean, I could see her getting an Oscar for this or being nominated, but I don't know. The movie's just not, all of them. And even looking at Cruella, I like that aesthetic so much. But like you said, the movie itself is kind of weak, if you go and look at the story.
Yeah.
And so maybe he doesn't have, I don't know. He's so strong in certain areas that this movie just is conflicting to me. There's nothing bad about it. I think what you said, too easy, is the where I end up, but I don't know if it's me, if it's the time, or if I watch the movie for what it is and just let it be a movie. I know it's it's loosely based on a Greek mythology story about a guy who worships a monument or something like that, or a statue. I'm not up on my Greek mythology.
Right, I'm not either. I wasn't even aware of that. So
yeah.
So you've also got this Kelly Garner character who slots so easily into his life that again does that puzzle piece fit too easily? Why is she truly drawn to Lars? What about him is appealing? Is everybody aware of this guy's trauma? Is everybody in this town aware of this deep psychological issue that this guy has? And they all conspire to take this seriously. Where's that one person who goes, fuck you, I'm not going to talk to a fucking doll? There's got to be one of them. I mean, I appreciate that the movie didn't go there, because I wouldn't have enjoyed that scene of somebody, making everybody else uncomfortable in that way. But at the same time, as a human being, I just have a hard time believing that there wasn't that one person who was like, this is fucking stupid, I'm not talking to a fucking doll. everybody from the mall to the church, everybody's willing to go along with this, and I understand the point. And Patricia Clarkson's got a really strong point. She's really great at this movie, that trying to lean into this particular type of delusion might help him come out of it. And I could there's definitely a psychological basis to that, where delusional people maybe just temporarily are in this delusion and they just need to figure their own way out of it, and we have to help them and nurture that away from them, as opposed to trying to jar that out of them. I definitely get that, and there's a lot of really strong emotional beats in this movie that I really appreciate. I just can't get over that one little thing.
And I mean, the brother kind of goes there, but not to the extent you're saying. But no one else in town does. And at the same time, I suppose a segment of the town could do it. It'd all work out the same. We just would never see the other segment. And again, I keep coming back to, is it me or the movie? because if I watch it and I throw that out, I think it's great. Does that make sense? And if it is really just kind of mirroring uh, a Greek mythology story, let me see if I can find the name of it. I think it's Pygmalion, the Ovid story. Pygmalion uh, is a romantic comedy. The story of Pygmalion is a story of an unusual love. Of Pygmalion falls in love with a statue of a beautiful ivory woman. The statue is real. He often felt the statue with his hand to see if it was flesh or ivory still, and then no longer admit it was ivory. So, I mean, I guess if you're just telling that story in modern day, I get that too, but it's hard to not, I can't turn my brain off enough to just, I don't know. I feel bad focusing on that because everything else about it's really great. So, it's very watchable. I mean, I kind of like Craig Gillespie. I think I like pretty much everything he's done. I just don't know if any of it, like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to see Midsummer I don't feel like I'm ever going to see that movie from him. I'm always going to see this next level down, like a step up above a Deadpool movie or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a really good, solid movie that's just missing one piece to make it the next level.
Yeah, I hear you. And we're not going to see anything from him in the near future that's going to get to that. His next movie is Pam and Tommy, with Sebastian Stan playing Tommy Lee. It's the Pamela Lee and Tommy Lee movie. And then after that, he's making a movie about Mike Tyson.
And that's a TV show, the Pam and Tommy thing, or is that a movie?
I don't know. I think there might be both TV shows, but I'm not sure. They're both for Hulu. I know that.
I mean, I'll give it a shot. I know Seth Rogen's involved. I have no interest in the Pam and Tommy story. I lived through it. But if he's involved and Seth Rogen's involved, I'll at least give it a shot.
Right.
It could at least be entered. I mean, Tanya Harding, he made good. I mean, they made a good movie out of that. So
he's great at absurdity. He's great at observing absurdity from a very human perspective. And I do appreciate that. And I like I said, I really, really do like Lars and the Real Girl. I just can't get past that idea that it's just all a little too simple. And I can sense something of what Kelly Garner's character sees in Lars, but not nearly enough of it for that. And it's just, again, it's a little too easy the way she slots in at the end. That just comes around too easily. And the whole treatment of mental illness, this idea of treating delusion like this, the way it plays out, again, it's a little bit simple. There's no real complexity to it. Because the triggers are so very obvious. And it's in that way, I find it a little bit frustrating. It's not messy enough.
Right. And I guess, I'm going to go back to something you said about Chasing Amy, about, how Kevin Smith dealt with lesbianism. And really, you made a comment about how it was more that character. It wasn't about lesbianism as a whole. It was about that character. I'm having a hard time with this movie as just this movie and not looking at mental illness as a whole. That's where I'm at with it. And maybe it works in this scenario. I just can't let it. I don't know what Kevin Smith did differently that Craig Gillespie didn't get here, or if it's me. I can't tell you that answer. But I cannot separate mental illness as a whole here and just look at it as a character thing, if that makes any sense at all.
I think what Kevin Smith did was he let it be sloppy. It was a sloppy thing. It was, her motivations and her life was never so easily explained, like why she chose to do what she chose to do. It doesn't have a very simple explanation. It's based in her basic humanity, why she chose to do the things that she did. She was driven by her character. Whereas this movie, Lars kind of does feel tugged around by the plot a little bit at times, and being the things that the plot needs him to be at any moment.
Like we're getting somewhere. That makes sense. Anything else on Lars and the Real Girl?
No, not really. I still do love this movie, and I love Gosling's performance. And I did kind of choke up during that talking head scene at the party. That scene always gets me.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. and I'm gonna make sure I've seen everything Craig Gillespie has done, just because I enjoy watching his movies.
His most conventional movie is The Finest Hours with Chris Pine, but it's very conventional action movie, but it's also really, really good for a conventional action movie.
I definitely haven't seen that one. All right, cool. 30 years ago, a bunch of pretty people made a movie. Soap Dish.
Stars Sally Field as a daytime television actress on a soap opera. She is the star of the show. She's the most rewarded person in television history. Years ago, she got Kevin Kline kicked off of the show for reasons, and now 20 years later, Robert Downey Jr. and Kathy Moriarty are trying to get her off the show to get her out of the way. And they've conspired to bring back Jeffrey, played by Kevin Kline, even though his character on the soap opera had been beheaded, was the explanation about his character being gone from the show. So that's very funny. Where Whoopi Goldberg makes the moment of that reveal very, very funny. Elizabeth Shue plays a character who comes in initially as Sally Field's niece, who gets a job on the show and surprises her by showing up. And then they, of course, are going to reveal over time that the reason why she had Jeffrey kicked off the show was because he knocked her up, and that Elizabeth Shue is actually her daughter. And that's all coming about as all these machinations behind the scenes are taking place between, Downey Jr. and Kathy Moriarty trying to get rid of her. Whoopi Goldberg's her friend who's trying to help her. Why Terry Hatcher's on the poster, I don't know, because she's barely in the movie. Kathy Moriarty probably should be there, but nevertheless.
Is this possible they redid it after Lois and Clark came out? And
perhaps.
Grabbed?
Perhaps. There's also no relationship between Whoopi Goldberg and Terry Hatcher that I'm aware of, but nevertheless, poster is very weird looking. It's okay. It's all right. It's a watchable movie. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I don't really have much to say about it. I didn't love it. I don't hate it. It's all right. I
saw it right around the time Lois and Clark came out, only because I was like, oh, Elizabeth Shue, Terry Hatcher. They're hot. Let's go watch it. But that was a long time ago. I don't remember.
I saw Gary Marshall's name in the credits. I'm like, wait, he didn't direct this? Did he? Please tell me he didn't direct it. And thankfully he didn't. He just appears in it.
It is a hell of a cast, though.
Yeah. A lot of Oscars there. A lot of Oscars.
How many? 2?
Well, Sally Field, Kevin Kline, Robert Downey Jr.
Has Robert Downey Jr. won one?
He's been nominated, at least. I'm not sure if he was nominated for Chaplin.
Elizabeth Shue was nominated.
Whoopi Goldberg won.
Yeah, I didn't know Kevin Kline had won.
Kathy Moriarty was nominated.
Okay, if you go in nominations, then yes. Great. So that is our show. Next week, we've got Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It on HBO and in theaters. When is HBO going to back off of that? Because
no idea.
Because clearly showing the ones that aren't in on streaming are doing better in the theaters than those that are. The Spirit Untamed. I have no idea if this is coming here or not, but the Samaritan starring Stallone, it says it's a wide release. And then you mentioned there's something called Sweet Tooth on Netflix as well.
Yeah, if it's a movie.
Yeah, it might be a TV show. I can never tell, and I don't do research, so forgive me. Our classic next week is Hasu or House from 1977, a Japanese haunted house movie. And in 1991, kind of a big week, I guess, sort of, the Academy Award-winning City Slickers, Jungle Fever, and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Weirdly, Jungle Fever is not available anywhere. You have to,
really?
If you want it, you have to buy the DVD off of Amazon.
Oh man, I've seen it. That was the first Spike Lee movie I've ever seen. I was hoping to rewatch it again.
I really do want to watch it. I wonder what the movie will be like in this day and age. But yeah, it's not available to stream.
That sucks. Weirdly, we just watched Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead not that long ago because my wife. I think that's going to join that club of movies that I don't know why people love. Still, I am excited to rewatch City Slickers because I haven't seen it since then, and I want to see if
It's been a
it's
long
any
time.
good. Yeah, I literally watched it one time when it came out, and I want to see if it's any good. And he won an Oscar for that, right? Jack Palance.
Yeah, the Lifetime Achievement Oscar. Thanks for acting for 60 years, Oscar.
And doing the same character in every movie. Like I said, that is our show. I do want to remind you about our sweepstakes. Head over to both our Facebook or Twitter page. They're pinned at the top with the details. But if you go and give us a 5-star rating on any podcatcher platform, you'll be entered in a chance to win a copy of what movies, Sean?
The Great War of Archimedes and Deliver Us from Evil.
Yes. Patreon.com/criticspod. Get yourself a credit on the show and kind of listen to some bonus episodes that'll be coming up in the near future. And then IHateCritics.net. I click on the TeePublic link if you want to get some of our podcast merch. Do you have time for Flip Chart?
Yes.
Fanny and Alexander, Juno. I don't know what Fanny and Alexander is.
I'm not sure I do either.
V for Vendetta or Juno?
Juno.
Agreed. Night at the Museum, Battles of the Smithsonian, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
You win, Josh.
Lord of the Rings. The Incredibles. Oh, this isn't a movie.
That's not a movie.
Incredibles is, but Mary Madagascar is not. The Incredibles or Speed to the Lake House.
Incredibles. And how did this get made? They couldn't help but ask the question about the lake house. What if he'd put his dick in the mailbox? What would have happened? And ever since then, I can't watch that movie without thinking about it.
Did you think about it at the time, even a little bit, or?
I don't think I did. I don't
know. I mean, that thought has popped up. I don't know if it was an original one of my own or if I heard it from that podcast or if somebody else suggested it. But definitely. Two movies I don't care about. First Night or Hobbit, Desolation of Smog.
The Hobbit is way too long. So the other one, it's probably, I assume it's shorter.
Annie, 1982, or Fanboys?
Oh, they both suck. Fuck, Fanboys just because it's shorter.
I know Annie only because Fanboys really was disappointing.
It's a bad movie. There's no doubt.
I think there's a shot Annie is just not for me.
Yeah.
It won a 20. I always win those coin tosses. I never win one. I totally disagree. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, The Apartment.
The Apartment.
It's pretty easy. The Wolfman, Vegas Vacation.
Again, they both truly suck. The Wolfman.
Yeah. Date Night, Monsters versus Aliens.
I like Date Night.
Enough. Rat Race, Days of Glory. What the fuck is wrong with Flickchart today?
I don't know. It's giving us just the shittiest movies.
It's not even like fun shit. It's just kind of like throwaway movies.
Blades of Glory, I guess.
Enjoy Rat Race. I don't like you.
I don't care which one the coin picks, honestly.
Again, it doesn't matter. Shooter, Poseidon.
Jesus Christ. Come on. Shooter, I guess. I don't know. Poseidon's pretty bad.
I don't care enough about Poseidon. But Starship
For
Troopers.
fuck's sake.
I haven't seen it. I'm sure you
No, I haven't either.
Oh, let's just see it.
No.
It's not a movie.
Come on.
Beethoven, Mad Max.
Mad Max, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to watch Beethoven again, but I don't want to watch either of those movies.
I like Mad Max aesthetic better than Beethoven. Splash, Flatliners.
Flash.
The Three Musketeers, Stargate.
I mean, this is just
I
ridiculous.
mean, it's almost like they're fucking with us.
Really, Stargate.
The Usual Suspects, Varsity Blues.
Usual Suspects.
I agree, but I like Varsity Blues way too much. And I don't know if there'll ever be a chance where I could go back and like. I've seen it so many times that I don't think I could ever not like it. When you see it so many times where if you go back to watch it 30 years later, like, oh my God, what was that? I think I'm too familiar.
I was just scrolling through Facebook, and there was a Facebook post about how actually the whipped cream bikini probably wouldn't taste very good.
The whipped cream bikini wouldn't work. I think it was shaving cream because whipped cream would just fall. It would melt too quick.
Hitch.
I will forever love Ours Either, though.
Yeah.
Hitch or Seabiscuit Hitch. I wish she was a bigger star. Rosemary's Baby, Dark City.
These are two good movies. Dark City.
Beverly Hills Cop 3,
the
Outside the Wire.
Sake.
I've never seen Outside the Wire, have I? Oh, I have. That sucked.
Yeah, it was really terrible, but so is Beverly Hills Cop 3. They both suck. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah. Just for the history. Let the Right One In, Monte Carlo.
Let the Right One In.
Breed. Romeo and Juliet, Mad Max.
For fuck's sake. Mad Max.
It's never won so much on the show.
I know.
We don't like Mad Max at all.
What the hell is going on?
She's All That or The Village.
The Village.
Agreed.
It doesn't have a pubes pizza in it, so that's why it wins.
Spanglish, Saw 2.
I like Spanglish, but Saw 2.
Phenomenon, Small Soldiers.
This is fucking nuts. I like laughing at Phenomenon more.
Okay. I'll go you there.
Oh my God.
End of Days, True Lies. Now they're not even trying.
True Lies.
That was one of the first movies where I went back and loved it at the time. And then when I saw it the second time, I'm like, oh my God, True Lies is terrible. Mad Max, Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever.
Someday we'll have to make that a classic because I have not seen it. I'm not letting you choose that one. All right, Hannibal, Karate Kid Part 3.
Karate Kid Part 3. Did you hear they're taking the villain from Karate Kid Part 3 and he's like the big bad of the next season of Cobra Kai?
I kind of figured they'd go there. Which bad guy? Mike Barnes or the
Thomas Ian Griffith's character?
I'm willing to go there. I like Karate Kid 3. American Movie, Hostage.
Hostage is like one of the last good, kind of sort of good Bruce Willis movies, but American Movie's better.
I've never seen it. I've heard it's pretty good.
Oh, you should see it, yeah.
Empire Records, Air Force One.
Empire Records, but don't watch the extended edition.
I agree. Dante's Peak, Heathers.
It's Heathers, though. I will always appreciate a movie that thinks you can drive across lava.
Joker, Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke.
I think I agree. I do like the Joker more than you, but Cool Hand Luke's just, I think he's good. I just enjoyed watching that movie, even if it doesn't have a point.
Yeah.
Other than he's the Jesus guy. Walk the Line.
I've never heard of that other movie.
Walk the Line or Superman, 1978.
Superman. I don't really like either one, though.
I don't hate Walk the Line. It just wasn't as good as everybody said it was, and it kind of annoyed me. Moonraker, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which comes out 30 years ago in a couple of weeks.
Robin Hood.
I am curious how that holds up. Because I watched that a lot for like 2 years. Star Trek Into the Darkness, Brick.
Brick.
Yes, Freaky Friday, Airplane.
Airplane.
I don't hate Freaky Friday, though. Just gonna say. Men in Black 3, Monsters versus Aliens.
Monsters versus Aliens.
Dances with Wolves, Easy A.
Easy A.
Yes. The Bucket List, The Omen.
The Omen.
It's pretty insane how like Emma Stone started in Superbad and then just is blown up into this. I guess so did Jonah Hill in a way. But she's one of the best actresses out there, I mean.
Absolutely.
Burn After Reading, Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Burn After Reading.
Real Intentions, The Machinist.
The Machinist.
Scream 3, Air Force 1.
Air Force One. Scream 3 is terrible.
The Muppets, Pearl Harbor.
The Muppets.
Yeah, I like Muppets. Is it really been that long since they... That's the Jason Segel one, right?
Yeah, Jason Segel. Yeah.
Segel. Wow. In 10 years.
That's crazy, right?
Were we doing the podcast then?
Don't remember. I thought it was 2013.
I thought it was too, but I thought we did that movie. So maybe
But there was a sequel. There was a sequel.
sequel. Top Gun, Aragon.
Top Gun.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 in 1993, or Milk.
Milk.
Runaway Jury.
I've never heard of it. And I know what Putney Swope is, but I've never seen it.
Runaway Jury, Zombieland.
Zombieland.
Yep. Source Code, English Patient.
Source Code.
Now You See Me, Run Lola Run.
Run Lola Run.
The Princess Diaries, Red Scorpion.
The Princess Diaries.
Leaving Las Vegas, Arachnophobia.
Leaving Las Vegas.
21 Jump Street, Tootsie.
21 Jump Street.
The Princess and the Frog, King Kong.
King Kong.
Jeepers Creepers, Wild Hogs.
Jeepers Creepers.
How to Train Your Dragon, Dances with Wolves. Or How to Train Your Dragon 2, Dances with Wolves.
Flip a coin. I don't care. You pick.
How to Train Your Dragon 2.
All right.
Make that better. I don't hate Dances with Wolves. I just don't mind How to Train Your Dragon movies. Big Hero 6 to graduate.
Big Hero 6.
The Ninth Gate, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford.
Jesse James.
Deadpool 2, The Golden Child.
Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2, Rocky 5.
Deadpool 2.
Starsky and Hutch, Shooter.
Starsky and Hutch.
Blast from the Past, Manhattan.
Manhattan. I love Blast from the Past, though. That's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah. This Is the End, A Few Good Men.
That's tough. That is a tough one. I'm not sure. I guess A Few Good Men. Rob Reiner, though, kind of has Ron Howard-itis.
Right. Like I don't know if Few Good Men's as bad as Backdraft. I think it's competent, but it's also very simple in a movie. Frequency, Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard.
Peter versus Larry Flint, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Larry Flint. I like Lock, Stock, though.
The Jungle Book, Silver Linings Playbook.
Silver Linings Playbook.
Metropolis, Terminator.
Metropolis.
Girl Next Door, The Monty Python's Meaning of Life.
Monty Python.
The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford or Jr.
Jesse James.
starting to bore myself. Tootsie Big Hero 6?
Big Hero 6. What is going on with
the
this?
museum. I just want something fun
The
to
Muppets.
talk about. Like, these aren't even bringing up conversations. 10 and American Tail. I mean, that's just weird movies to put against each other.
That is just bizarre, yeah. American Tail.
Is 10 any good? I know it's been a long time.
I think so. No, it's not.
End of Days, Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Alien versus Predator, Requiem.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Even though I don't like it.
John Q, The Hangover Part 2.
Hangover Part 2.
Driving Miss Daisy, Tombstone.
Tombstone.
Brazil, 101 Dalmatians.
Brazil.
Alien versus Predator, Now You See Me.
Now You See Me.
Like, I'm seriously getting tired.
Right? This is
not even fun. Almost Famous, Code of Silence. Like, I just want to say I haven't seen Code of Silence.
What do you want to put it up against something else?
I just want to not, like,
it's so easy.
Patriots never going to win over their something.
No, never.
So it's just Secret Garden. I don't know that one as well.
No.
Noah's Crossing, There's Something About Mary.
That's a tough one. Because I know Miller's Crossing is a better movie, but I love There's Something About Mary. That movie just never fails to make me laugh.
Right.
I'm going to pick Miller's Crossing because it's the right thing to do, but
that's tough because you're right. I just don't know. Like, that's not a Coen Brother movie you go back and watch a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a Coen Brother movie. I don't know what's crossing with you. But that's the kind of conversation.
Have I seen? I don't even know if I've seen Fandango, other than The Wrestler.
It's a Big Short. It'll be fun before sunrise.
Before sunrise.
I love those movies. Is there 3 of those movies, right?
Yeah.
Linklater. I still haven't watched any of those. Both of these movies. Oh, I thought it was a cartoon. I thought it was a fucking cartoon. Apparently it was Thor the movie. My fault. Hot Shots, Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
Hot Shots, but Mean Girls is really good. I want to see this up there again. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Panic Room.
Panic Room.
No more James Bond.
Ooh, that's me.
Last one. Up in the Air, Evil Dead 2.
Ah, fuck. Oh, man, I love those movies. How do I decide?
2 movies you never put against each other.
No, never.
There's no reason to at all.
Evil Dead 2.
I have a hard time not going with a genre-specific movie when I'm in a scenario, like when one's not and then one is. Like, I want to go with the style and the whatever they're doing and be like Evil Dead 2. Even though Up in the Air is a freaking phenomenal movie, I'm just more likely to appreciate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that originality better. All right, that's our show. Talk to you later.